Alright, Internet Rockers, what up? Godzilla King of the Monsters. The follow-up to the 2014 Godzilla film by Gareth Edwards. I don't know if he's done this one as well. Who also directed Rogue One, which, as a film, is a little spotty up until it did its fan servicey thing in the third act, which is like the massive payoff of that film. But regardless of that, the doing my yawn. Even though it has nothing to do with this film, even though it could bore you, but it didn't really bore me. I was kind of not expecting much going in, too much going in, aside from monsters going at each other. Basically, Ghidorah as sold through the trailers, and they at least give you what you're selling. You're definitely seeing a lot more Godzilla this time around. I tell you that. Did I say the fights are as intense or as good as what we wound up getting as the final battle, or at least got out of the final battle in the last Godzilla film? I don't know about that. Though the slight tie-ins, of course, still with Kong Skull Island are there. I want to kind of say that I like this film and a little bit better than the last one as an overall film to a degree, even though somehow things are, with like certain points in the plot to move it forward, were kind of dumb, but I guess it's kind of to be expected of the monster movie caliber. How else were you going to have King Ghidorah and then fight each other, if not for some stupid forms of plot convenience? And it's like, wait, what? And even though they kind of did already showcase that in the trailer, but by the time it plays out in the film, I can understand it taking some people out, because the way it starts to move along to start with, you don't see the problems, but when they get to the point of King Ghidorah being released, it gets a little dumbfounded to the point where your payoffs are essentially your monster battles. Else here and there. And whatnot. And King Ghidorah is essentially, and the way they do handle King Ghidorah itself, and that sort of lore, and world building, and more so the lore at this point, and how Monarch is as an agency that's been dealing with these monsters, and now the whole bigger reveal about it at this point. And the little thing they do at the end that they tie in stuff with is amazing as well. It's pretty interesting as well, that it kind of leads to something I've kind of known remembering playing that one game off the fighting game they had on the GameCube, where you got to play two different versions of Godzilla. I guess they also kind of sort of hinted at like 2000s Godzilla a little bit with this one, or at least what he's kind of sort of become. I miss the Blue Fire stuff, but I understand them kind of making him a little more stronger. And I do feel like they're already going to eventually go in space at some point, which could make or break. But I feel like with the way they're going at this point, I don't think it will. Depending on what they do after what we get out of Godzilla vs. Kong, which is coming out next year. And we already kind of know, and I already have an idea just from the build-up of that. The human actors, yeah, it's a kind of an issue here and there, except for like Ken Watanabe's return, up until something happens with him that I won't entirely get into, but I mean, it does. I mean, I can say it's, despite some of the little stuff, it's not nearly on the level of that I got out of last year, or the year before that last year, with Pacific Rim Uprising. Oh boy, that was like, eesh. Yeah, that was just dumb with that thing. But this is better. This is at least better than that, despite certain little things. But plot still moves forward, and eventually certain things with that character getting redemption, and overall, I can't say it's as strong. I understood them doing what they had to do with Godzilla in the first film, and also in a way that they kind of did it as a tribute to the original Godzilla. And some people are saying this is as dumb as the 98. No, 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 no. That would mean it's worse than the Pacific Rim Uprising. No. No. No, it's not that dumb. No, no. It's far more tolerable, and even though there are some dumb things that happen, they do enough other things to kind of like not take you out of it completely. You're willing to suspend your disbelief in a very Fast and Furious kind of way, but not like to that levels of stupid, or to what it's kind of going to be getting with Hobbs and Shaw, which I'm on board with that, so I guess that must say something with me on this one. So, yeah, I have a certain tolerance for bad films, I guess, to a certain degree, and I'm sorry, I found a certain distraction I shouldn't be distracted by. But anyway, again, in case you didn't know all that from the other review. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. Godzilla was great. King Ghidorah their little fights was great. Rodan's moments were in. Mothra was cool. The way they handled the little thing that you just seen in the trailer, the way it plays out in there, and her little reveal of the wings is the water at the waterfall is it's just so nice. So nice. Other than that, it's a solid film. I got what I paid for, So, I mean, it's definitely more. It is kind of worthy of theater enough for at least maybe a matinee. I understand if it seems like it'd be more of a rental, but to some people, but I'm not saying it's not worth checking out in the theater. If I got what I paid for, I got a lot of the monster fights and stuff, and yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's worthy enough of a matinee. It's barely good enough to say thumbs up. I wouldn't say it's going to be in my best of the year list, that's for dang sure. But, sorry. Damn, it's a very nice distraction too, apparently, that I'm dealing with. Sorry. But, sorry. Anyway. But yes, the fights were nice. The way they ended things, I don't know about how, like, they kind of tried to do another Mortal Kombat type finisher like they did with last one. Though I wouldn't say it goes over and nearly as well as the fire breath, breakneck breath to the neck thing. That was a good fatality. This one was different, and just him eating the Ghidorah instead, and this is where I should have just said spoilers on that, but the way they lead to the plot where they think that the advancement of in order to survive, that humanity has become like this problem or something, and that the trailers basically already kind of gave some of the plot away, or at least this character's decision and how stupid it really is. And the fact the daughter goes with it, and then she tries to do something stupid and get herself killed, and then it's just that. And it sucks because the actress in this was actually in a fairly decent Netflix series known as Stranger Things. Forgetting the actress's name, forgive me, but apparently I'm trying to remember even her character's name in that series. I still have yet to see it myself, so forgive me for that. But I do, because I don't have Netflix, that's mostly why. But yeah, I got most of the part I got what I paid for, and the plot with the humans, as much as it might be for some who, if you're that film snobby, I'd understand if you kind of would rather wait for a rental, but if you know what you're getting yourself into, it's at least worthy of enough of a matinee, which is exactly, I think, what I paid for to get in and watch this movie. So I'd say I definitely had my money's worth in that regard. So, like I said, so in that regard, thumbs up. But, yeah, that plot synopsis that they're doing it to try to use them as, they're calling them Titans as opposed to Kaiju because of Pacific Rim having used it before. Which, I guess they're going to figure out a way to try to tie it in with Pacific Rim and eventually realize that these Titans were essentially precursor Kaiju or something, and it's a possibility that maybe Ghidorah was essentially a champion in that regard. And I don't know if this does lead into this possibility, like, the possibility of something at some point leading into them trying to tie it in with Pacific Rim in a good way. To that, I guess, in terms of how, I guess, maybe Mecha Ghidorah possibility, because apparently the one bad guy, played by one of the dudes from Game of Thrones, it's hot, so sorry for the fan interference. But yeah, I mean, of course, eventually something happens with Mothra, and like the explosion that they had to do because of what happened in them nearly killing Godzilla, to where he basically had to go and go completely underground to this one, what was his one home, and some Aztec-looking place, pyramid place, where he fuels himself. The Titans were here long ago, as they are referred to, and that how to some extent that maybe the Titans are the kaiju, are eventually what led to the kaiju, I guess, in some form of inevitability, or at least maybe something more along the lines of Ghidorah winds up being exactly what the kaiju technically are, in some retrospect, I guess. That leads into something like the Jaegers. I don't know if maybe they're going to have King Ghidorah or possibly Mechagodzilla being like the technicalities of the first, given that they're tying in Pacific Rim, possibly. They could do something of that nature to where the Mechagods, they could wind up giving us Ghidorah and Mechagodzilla, the certain aspects of King Ghidorah and Mechagodzilla, and leading into possibly Mechagodzilla, and those leading to the possibilities of them being the first Jaegers, which is still something to kind of consider. I don't know if that's how they're going to tie it in. It all depends on how things go with Godzilla vs. Kong next year, and how that's going to tie in with the Pacific Rim. I don't think which I think that tie-in might be it with the Pacific Rim story stuff. I do hope Guillermo del Toro has a little bit more say, because at least he'll probably make it better compared to what we got out of Uprising. Jesus. Even my buddy, who's like loved that film to the point where he has a Gypsy Danger doll, little action figure, little collectible thing, and even he's just like next to his Jester Chief and Link and everything. It's yeah, even he wasn't happy with that, like I had said before in my Pacific Rim Uprising review. If you had to check that out, go ahead. But that's what I gotta say about that's my thoughts on that. How they're going to handle that is up to that. There is a possibility that the King Ghidorah, or the mecha head for middle mecha head for King Ghidorah, it can still live up to a possibility. What happened with Mothra? She basically got her ass kicked by things with Rodan. Didn't go for. He beat Rodan, but kind of got his ass kicked by Ghidorah, and she did what she could, and her basically doing what her kind of disintegrating into like sparkly little ashes or something, because Mothra's just that pretty, and she can get away with that. Onto Godzilla, on top of the already boost of radiation that Tanabe had to do to further accelerate what they needed to do to get him that power boost he needs to be able to take on of radiation he needed to take on King Ghidorah, and he barely was able to. And that power boost from Mothra was definitely on top of the extra little stuff, which led him to red fire 2000s Godzilla type thing. And Godzilla looks badass, and and at times when he's sleeping, he's kind of adorable. King Ghidorah himself was badass. And then of course Kong vs. Godzilla is going to somehow happen. Right now Godzilla's proven himself already king of the monsters. And a lot of the fight was based off of the one that originally happened in, I guess, the King Ghidorah, King of Monsters film, I guess. The only film I remember seeing when I was younger, when it came to them multiple times, was from King. For me, I didn't know about some of these monsters. All I remember is Biollante, which was unfortunately not a monster that was featured in the game. That I just remember certain monsters from the game that I got to play in the GameCube, and that's how I know about these, and then some other stuff, and Death Battle doing their little thing. I can't wait for that. There's some other monsters that come around, a big old mammoth of some sort, I think another creature similar to the one from the first film, I guess. Again, I don't know what they call those monsters, but anyway, but they definitely look a lot more like the kaiju, for sure. But anyway, having King Ghidorah be considered more alien than legit, more supernatural, hence why he was able to replicate the head, repair its head, like a lizard repairs its tail, which is sort of unnatural, like that kind of regeneration. Somehow was not able to do that, especially after Godzilla ate him. I don't know if he's going to be able to have the powers to regenerate after that, but we'll see. And so far it seems like he's on our side. Well, so far he's been on our side. I don't know if he's not going to be, and that leading to the potential ordeal with Kong and him going at it. Hopefully it goes over better than the original King Kong versus Godzilla film that they did. We'll see. But yeah, like I said, I liked it for what it was. I got what I paid for as far as because I seen it in a matinee, and that's kind of what it felt like. Or at least the big blockbuster aspect that you pay for is those fights. And the clash still looks as good as it did in the trailer, I'll tell you that. So, and yes, and eventually I guess they're getting Ghidorah back because the head that was left over from what he had torn off originally somehow is in this one other sanction for Monarch, I guess, that the other terrorist dude is with, and the mother, I guess, wound up. But we see what happened with those characters, but it's because of what happened in the last film and how they are about it. And I understand some people comparing it to what I've heard about the last Jurassic World film. So, yeah, that's kind of what happens here. It probably, but it's handled definitely far better and far more tastefully, and doesn't take away from all the cool shit that happens with the Titans. And I feel like what's ever going to happen with them could lead to those are my guesses. But what I've said earlier is my guesses. Anyways, what did you guys think of the film? Leave a comment below. Let me know on that. Rock that like button on the video with Rusty from Us. Link in the description below to my Facebook page, where you should like and follow me there if you haven't already. And as always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video. Not sure what that would be. Debatably Dark Phoenix. Debatably. I'm hearing negative to mixed reviews. So, I don't think Kinberg could do anything to save this. I think he should have just let it, after what happened last time, and try to make up for it. He should have just let it go, or let someone else direct it, because his beginner's touch is not helping. It's probably not going to be helping. I'm worried, from what I'm hearing, at least on that regard. I'm worried. I don't expect this to be all that. I don't want us to be like that much trash as most people are saying. I don't want to believe that for a second. I don't believe that it's full-on trash, because those actors have to have some form of performance, unless you're what's-her-face. I do feel awful for who they've had for Jean Grey and what they're doing with her. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens with that film. But anyways, leave a comment below that. Those are my thoughts going into that film by the time I do decide to review it, if anything at all. So, well, other than what I've said before, as always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, y'all.